Ooh, you fall.
You can back us on the or you're looking at the.
I'm gonna record it.
No.
I don't get some calls.
It's on this one.
Jackie, you ready? All right, so we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. This is the city council business meeting for Thursday, September 16th, 2021. It is 6 p.m. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Lester.
Here.
Baker.
Here.
Reba. Here. Cool.
Here.
Livingston.
Here.
Mayor Tom Phillips.
I'm here as well. We do have full quorum, so we will move on. For those on the Zoom meeting, if you want to speak to an agenda item, go ahead and unmute your microphone and speak up during public comment. You can also let us know you have some input by raising your Zoom hand or flagging us in the chat box. We'll then recognize you during public comment. Also, if you don't forget to mute your microphone, please don't forget to mute your microphone after you've made your comment. There's a time delay on the YouTube meeting, so we will not respond to questions that may be texted to people in council chambers. If you'd like to ask questions during the meeting, please either attend in person or attend via the Zoom meeting. So next on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Would anybody like to move any of the consent agenda items to the regular agenda? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion. Second.
Okay, got a motion by Cool, second by Livingston. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion carries. Item 4, we're going to have a dedicated work session tonight. So this work session is expected to last 1 hour, but it's probably going to go longer than that. We're going to have a discussion on fireworks. Just to set the stage on what we're going to do with this work session, we're first going to have public input. Residents who would like to address council need to state their name and address, and then they'll have 3 minutes to address council. Council, feel free to ask any questions as residents address you. I'll try to make sure the questions and answers don't count against the 3 minutes. After we get through public input, we will, Chief Staples is going to present data that he has gathered in regards to this past Independence Day and other information he has in regards to the lighting of fireworks. After Chief Staples has presented his material, Luke Paris will go over current zoning for fireworks stands, how close the stands are or have been to residences, and possible solutions to increase that distance. And finally, council will discuss the information presented. Council may or may not come to conclusions tonight. They may ask staff for more information. Also, if an ordinance change is desired, council will direct staff to what changes they'd like to see. Staff will then work to get those changes made to the ordinance and presented to council at a meeting in the future. So we'll start out with public input. Whoever would like to step up to the microphone, state your name and address to address council, and you'll have a 3-minute time limit.
I handed in my address and name. I've been having some problems. There are people upset about me coming here, but anyway.
Go ahead and state your name.
Oh, Diana Strobel, sorry. I think I'm supposed to change it to Karen, but anyway. I guess, I'm not sure. I don't know the history of where the, I think it's like 10 days of fireworks through June 29th, July 8th. I'm not sure the history of that or how that came to be, so. But I'm just going by, I guess, with the other cities and towns around us, most of them are either banned or they're a few days over the 4th. I know this town's growing with a lot of businesses, senior citizens' homes, which means more people coming in and more people to, I think, be thought of and all of that, along with the businesses and homes and stuff. Looking through Des Moines, as an example, a lot of them, the reasons for banning, and I'm not asking for banning, I'm just asking to lower a couple days. The police this year stated, and the fire department, that with the drought, they warn people and enhance risk of fires. Ask residents to be respectful, not shoot fireworks, put themselves or other neighbors in danger, nearby property at risk. And I don't know if that's been taken into consideration of the drought summers or the dry summers or whatever, all of that going on. The reasons they banned it was, I know Des Moines, West Des Moines, Ankeny, they received a rise in calls and complaints. Most injuries involve extremities, face, loud noises, can also aggravate people with PSD and pets. And it should be left to the professionals. That was on KCCI 8. I'm trying to hurry because of my 3 minutes. I think as our town grows also, there'll be more and more fireworks being lit off, which 10 days straight, 10 days night straight, right outside your front door is just, you just can't even relax. It's just, I think a couple days is okay for most people, but the 10 days is just wearing on pets and people with disabilities. I've heard a lot of people complain they have to leave during that time and go on vacation just to get away from it. I know I stood before you in July and I listed a lot of different things that, came up in my thoughts about it. I'm not doing this just to be mean or just to, complain. I just think a lot of people need to be taken into consideration, the reasons why they want it lowered. Like I said before, there's people that have to work split shifts. I have to go into work early. Kids that have to get up early and go for daycare, that it's hard getting them down to sleep with all of it going off. Senior citizens, they all turn in usually pretty early and it's hard for them. And we're building more and more senior citizens residents. So it's just, I think there's a lot to think about with it. I'm not sure why we need this many days versus why we can't reduce it and not ban, but just be fair and try and work with everybody. That time of year, like I said, neighbors are just at neighbors' throats and just yelling about having to pick up fireworks and just, I don't know. It's just not a community combined thing. Everybody's kind of separated with it. And I know that many days of fireworks, like I said, everybody's buying the fireworks and I don't think they're really given towards the city, big fireworks, and between the festivities and the city fireworks, that's quite a bit, I think, with 3 or 4 days over the 4th of people lighting them. And I think it meets halfway with everybody, that they can come together, meet halfway.
I think your time's up.
My time's up. Okay, well, I said most of it last time, but I appreciate you letting me talk. Thank you.
Thanks.
I have a question there. If I could ask.
Sure, go for it.
Yes.
Do you have a personal complaint? Is there something that you personally, I know you have observations.
Well, yes, I do. I mean, my dogs, it costs a lot of money to sedate them for 10 days straight. My dogs can't even get off the back steps to use the bathroom when they're sedated. I can't even sit outside, relax, watch TV. I just have to sit there till it's over with. That is my complaint. And I don't mind a few days of it. I really don't. But 10 days, it's like
Thank you.
hard to do it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mindy Rankins. I live at 410 Sycamore Drive in Orchard Hills. I've lived here for about 5 years. It started out not so bad. First year or two, and it's gotten progressively worse over time. I don't want to be a fun killer. I don't want to say no one should have fireworks. There, I'm fine with a couple days, but from my own personal experience, I can tell you I have a 13-year-old dog. He was abused before I got him. He had been shot and he has lost a leg and he had been shot in the face. We have a ramp built in our backyard to get off the deck for him. I can't drug him. He might fall off that. So people who tell me to drug him, that's really not going to work. And I spend probably a month afterward trying to get him to go outside because he's terrified after that 10 days. Tried to wait the time period when it was supposed to end. Several times there were, I had just gotten him out the door and fireworks went off after, and then he's terrified all over again. I don't want to do this every year. I don't want to, again, be the fun killer, but I figure if I'm going through that, a lot of other people are probably going through similar situations. There's children, there's people with PTSD, children with autism, things that, they may not understand what's going on, and it's very stressful for them. I think we can all handle a couple days, but 10 is really kind of overkill. I'm sure you guys all know about the dangers from fire. There was litter all over our yard this year. It's not a big deal to pick it up, but it's a big deal to pick it up for 10 days straight. And it was dry this year. And there was a worry of fires because a lot of the fireworks were very close to our house. And they weren't just, your little, even your bottle rocket kind of thing. They were huge this year. And I guess those are my main concerns. Fire, noise ordinance, we have those for a reason. And that is not respected during those 10 days, obviously. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you both. I thought I was gonna be here by myself. I did not.
Could you state your name and address?
Dale Beanberg, 8833 Sunset Drive.
Thank you.
I was here 2 weeks ago on this 3-minute thing. When I was here for the food vendor thing, just to see what you guys did, I know the gentleman came up a couple of times because he was responding to something somebody said. Am I going to be allowed the same thing? Because I spent the last 6 weeks laying awake at night figuring out what can I say to you people that would make a difference. For 5 years, you've allowed fireworks. So nothing anybody said made a bit of difference to you. So I've been trying to figure out what would make a difference. I have not slept since July 4th. Okay. I have talked to Chief Staples a few times, emailed and stuff like that. He is not my ally. I can tell you that right now. He is not the guy that's going to get fireworks stopped in the city. Couldn't do it anyway. He's going to provide some data later on. Apparently I could have looked at it online. He didn't know. He shared it with me earlier. What he did share, because I looked at it and I said, oh, what am I even doing here? Fireworks complaints have decreased the last couple years and all this stuff. I said, I don't have it. I'm a retired Navy senior chief. I'm really trying to talk to you and not alienate you. But if I slip up, I'm going to apologize in advance because it's not how I would normally be talking. I told you last time, I am not a good spokesperson for this. I am not a sympathetic person. I'm really glad these two ladies showed up. Okay. I believe, I moved here in 2008. I believe you opened Pandora's box when you allowed fireworks. 7 other cities, and I could write them out, read them out, but you know who they are, right? Said, no, not only no, but absolutely not. We're not going to allow untrained people, just garden variety people, not the people up at the Lions Club shooting off fireworks, just people shooting off fireworks in their backyard at night, probably some alcohol involved, next to their neighbors. And as the one lady just said, they're getting bigger, more powerful. I did not come here in 2017 and talk to you like I am tonight, because I just assume city councils are going to do what's best for their citizens. Why else would you get elected? You know, go through all of that. I didn't come here in 2018. I didn't come here in 2019. I didn't come here in 2020 because I did not have a dog in this fight. None of my neighbors showed any inclination for wanting to shoot off fireworks near me. Yeah, they're over there a block away, stuff like that. Let them. Let the people that live around them come and talk to you. Now I got a new neighbor. He informs me they shoot off fireworks every year, have a big party. Well, they did. He wasn't lying. If you remember, July 3rd, Saturday night, south wind. So where does he set up? He doesn't set up next to his house. He's not stupid. He sets it up on the north side of his property line next to my house. The wind's coming from the south. Where do you think all the debris is going to come? You guys know there's debris. You put it right in your ordinance that debris was a problem. You knew debris was a problem, but you still allowed fireworks. As I put in my email to you 2 weeks ago. Oh, geez, my gosh, I've been saving this for you. This is what I picked up off of my lawn July 4th. That's how I spent my Sunday morning and actually a little bit after as the stuff came off my roof. I haven't climbed up to look in the gutters. It hadn't been enough rain to tell whether they're clogged or not. One of the ladies was mentioning, maybe both of them mentioned dogs and stuff like that. I don't know. What about this stuff here? Does that kind of look like those sausages and stuff, those treats you give to dogs and stuff? What if my dog had eaten this? Would he have been poisoned? You know, from my email, I don't have a dog, but I'm just, makes a good point. Now, the other thing, I've got pages here, but I'm afraid you're going to cut me off anytime now.
Pretty close.
Now, let's talk about your ordinance. One of you people actually responded to me to the email I sent to you and said, well, we thought we had a pretty good thing on the debris. They were supposed to clean it up type thing off of city property and things like that. Now, I want to get this figured out now. So your ordinance tells them that they should actually demands that they come over on my private property and pick up the debris. What if I got a privacy fence? Do I have to leave it unlatched so they can come in? What if my non-existent dog runs away then? Do I have to provide the ladder for him to get up on my roof to get the debris off, or is he supposed to bring his own? You understand what I'm saying? And you're going to tell me my 3 minutes is up.
Yep.
And I'm going to ask, I came here, I really don't like this organization. I want to hear what you have to say, because I think I can do a counterpoint to any positive thing anybody here says to endorse lighting off fireworks in Norwalk. I spent 6 weeks figuring it out. Right? So what I'm asking is, when I hear the conversation, am I going to be allowed to come up and rebut any comment I hear?
Not tonight.
Then when?
When we talk about the ordinance, if there's any ordinance changes, then at that point in time, you'll be able to address council again.
I find that very disappointing. I assumed you were going to be here to discuss and you would want to hear from the residents of Norwalk. I am a resident of Norwalk, by the way. Okay.
All right.
Do you not want to hear from me?
No,
Would it
Chief.
really take so much time to hear me out?
No, Chief, we want to hear from you, but there's rules in here, so everybody's treated the same. And the other point of it is that, you know, we're not going to be in an argument or a debate. We actually want to try to find a solution, believe it or not.
Yes.
So the better thing, I think, and what I wouldn't mind doing, Chief, is sitting down over a cup of coffee and talking to you. Okay, then I can hear what you got to say. And I can ask you questions and you can ask me questions, and it'll be before we ever formulate a, you know, solution, whatever that's gonna be.
You told me when I called you, the only way for me to make a difference is come and talk to this council eye to eye.
That's right.
So I spent 6 weeks preparing. Now you're telling me you don't want to hear me. I don't understand that. I'll talk to you any day, Ed.
All right, fair enough.
But you told me that would not be effective. I need to come and talk to all these people.
Right,
Yep.
I am retired. I guess I've got the time. Do you?
I'm retired.
I don't. Thank you. I'm going to sit down. I am not pleased.
Hey, Chief, I got a question for you. Can I ask a question, please, Chief?
Absolutely.
You've heard the testimony here about the situation and the circumstances that the chief had with debris and stuff. Given our current ordinance, the one that's on the book, is it possible to prosecute anybody for the debris violation?
When you said chief, I thought you were talking.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chief, I'm getting it confused.
You're a chief
I'm
too.
so sorry.
I meant the police chief. I'm sorry.
I was in the middle of trying to pull up the ordinance, so I could read the language specifically.
Sure.
Is it possible? It's possible, but not likely. And it depends on the debris.
Right,
If it's a stick off a bottle rocket like Mr. Bielenberg has, that would be difficult to prosecute because it could have come from where it goes anywhere.
he'd have to be able to swear where that came from for you in court, I would imagine.
Yes.
And it'd almost have to be a witness. from
And
the
if it was debris in the street or that blew into the street from a driveway, if you remember back, not last year, the year before, a resident mailed in pictures that were part of the presentation, a stack of used up firework containers that were stacked up on the edge of the road. That I could see would be pretty easy to prosecute somebody for not cleaning that debris up. Because it's kind of obvious where it came from, that sort of thing. So the answer is maybe not likely.
Before you get started, anybody, do we have any comments or from online that, from the Zoom meeting that would like to address council about fireworks? Unmute your mic or raise your hand and we'll unmute your mic for you.
Or use a chat box.
Or use the chat box, yes. All right, seeing none. Chief Staples, you've gathered quite a bit of information for council and would like to present that to council at this time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. In your packets is the document that I have in my hand. Just on the face page, things that I wanted to point out are that this particular year, we did make one charge for violation of the ordinance. That was an individual who was observed by an officer setting off fireworks after 10 p.m. He asked the person to not do it anymore. He drove away. The officer, the citizen did it again. He came back and he cited him. City attorney advises me the gentleman pled guilty this week. And then the last line, bullet point on the front page, there was an injury reported to Norwalk Medical Services. It's a significant hand injury. It's not 100% sure that the injury occurred in Norwalk. It just came to the Norwalk Fire Station for treatment. There were 2 grass fires this year caused by fireworks that the fire department responded to. And there was a firework unexploded embedded in the side of a house that they responded to.
Were the grass fires in corporate limits?
Yes.
Yes.
They were.
Yes.
So then the graphs and charts, we've all had a chance to look at them, and I'll just pull them up, speak about them briefly. On the first page, these three maps, interesting things about them are that in 2021 and in 2022, 2020, you'll notice on the hotspot map on the bottom right-hand corner, it's hot, meaning there was more calls there than there were other places. That hotspot represents 1313 Wright Road, the Good Life Retirement Community. One or several people from that address call us frequently about fireworks. And the trouble with that is we don't know if those fireworks are coming from the county, which is right across the street where they're legal, or from the city, which is right behind them. But our data shows, and our data collected includes the data from 1313 Wright Road, and I can't for sure tell you where the fireworks were coming from that they reported. I do know that many of them were probably from the city, but I also know that a family that lives on Coolidge in the county lights fireworks frequently. And why I watch those from my back deck, I did notice that we got a call from 1313 Wright Road. Whether it was those they were complaining about or not, I don't know. On the next page where you see the chart for the 38 days that the state allows fireworks, you'll notice that up until the 26th, 27th, 28th, the number of complaints are relatively low, except for 2020. As I go through this data, please remember that 2020 was an odd year in a lot of respects, and it was certainly a different year for fireworks. And you'll also notice that on the days where there's a high bar, typically those are weekends. One of the biggest complaints that in the next chart, one of the biggest complaints that we get is fireworks after the cutoff time. So the next chart just details how many minutes past the cutoff time of 10 p.m. did somebody call to notify us that of a firework being exploded. Interestingly enough, in 2020, when we had lots and lots of calls, there was nobody complaining about it an hour after 10 o'clock. The next chart, it just is a snapshot of the difficulty in with the police department in trying to enforce this. These are the dispositions that the officers used on the 48 calls that they responded to over the course of the summer. Unable to locate is kind of obvious. Same with verbal warning. Handled by officer and essentially means that they were either gone on arrival, they gave a verbal warning. It's just a catch-all. We use that interchangeably with meaning that they just handled the problem. Case written is referring to the arrest that we, or the charge that we faced. The next graph is the raw number of fireworks complaints in Norwalk for the 48 days, or excuse me, 38 days that the state allows them. And the thing I want to point out here is that in 2017, the state allowed fireworks for the first year. Obviously, that's when the numbers increase. And also in 2017, this police department and all of the Westcom police departments acquired a new computer-aided dispatching system. So there may be a significant increase for two reasons from 2016 to 2017. One is because of the state law that allows them, and one is because we probably have a better data collection system beginning in 2017. So then the next two charts, the next chart is trying to standardize or make it more even between Westcom cities and the population. You'll notice that Norwalk has the most complaints per 1,000 population. We also have the most days where you can use fireworks. Waukee allows 2 days, the 3rd and the 4th. Clive, West Des Moines, and Urbandale do not allow any days of fireworks. And then the last two graphs are, charts, are the fireworks complaints, the raw number by Westcom City, just for the Norwalk usage days. And that's where you can see what the difference in 2020, especially in Urbandale and West Des Moines. And then the last chart is per 1,000 population for the last 3 years for the Westcom cities. These are the same charts you've seen for the last 3 years. I made them 2019, 2020, 2021 on purpose. Those are the 3 years that the ordinance in Norwalk has been the same. If you recall, after the 2018 season, we decreased the number of days from 38 to 10. And so the 3 years in the charts are to reflect that the ordinance allowing them has been the same for 3 years. All I got, unless there are questions. Thank you.
Luke Paris is going to talk to us about zoning.
Yeah, thank you. So as you recall, our citing of temporary uses, which fireworks stands fall under, we did a pretty big overhaul that last year going into the 2021 season to ensure that we had things kind of looking the way we wanted to and located the way we wanted. And so the only thing that I really heard coming out of this year was some concern about proximity to residences as far as sales points. And I think that kind of went back to the tent that was at 1409 Sunset, which is right north of the Sunset Crest Retail Center, the one kind of in the center there that Luke's circling. So this map just kind of gives you guys some idea on if we put in a restriction that you couldn't locate a temporary use stand within so many feet of a residence, which ones that would cut out. At 50 and 100 feet, you just cut out that one location at the 1409 Sunset. You get to 200 feet and that kind of triggers in the one behind DeRocher Chiropractic. And at 300 feet, it would eliminate all 4 sites. So just some information on what we could do with that as far as location wise, if we wanted to entertain some kind of additional amendments to that zoning.
That's the only one though that you've had a complaint on.
That was the one we had to complain on against the proximity. So the 50 to 100 foot would seem to be the route we would want to go with that. But we did some additional research on when they operate a fireworks stand, they're required to keep notice that you're not allowed to set off within 300 feet of that. Talking with the state fire marshal and that stuff, it's something they're required to put up, but nobody's going around checking off if fireworks are being set off within 300 feet of something. But I could see a rationale where somebody would say, if that's a requirement, then we shouldn't take away somebody's right to set off fireworks if they're within that. Didn't sound like from talking to the state that that was something that they ever really checked up on. So I think we'd be okay not doing that, but I wanted to put that in there as an option.
Luke, was the complaint about proximity to housing from a nearby resident or?
I don't recall. I heard it from multiple people.
Okay.
So yeah, it wasn't one that came straight to me. But my guess would be that would be the case.
I got one of them that came from a resident that was wondering about the one behind by El Dorado. So, and I passed that on to Luke.
Yeah, and I think I heard from 3 or 4 other people. Most of my knowledge of it was secondhand rather than talking directly to the people concerned.
I had couple citizens asked about that one as well.
Anything else, Luke?
That is it.
All right, thank you. So as a reminder to the audience, this is a work staff session for staff, council, and myself. I would ask that you respectfully listen at this point to the discussion and refrain from interrupting at this point. I know there have been some folks saying that they'd like to reach a compromise on number of days that fireworks are allowed. I'd like to remind everyone that state law indicates that fireworks are allowed from June 1st to July the 8th, which is a total of 30 days. Our current ordinance was a compromise down to the 10 days. Reasoning behind the 10 days is if July 4th is on a Wednesday, residents could then light fireworks the weekend before and the weekend after the 4th. The comment about other suburbs making fireworks illegal. Those cities have the same problems we do with the illegal lighting of fireworks. I think it's extremely naive to think otherwise. As we've seen the data, they're getting a lot of calls as we are, even in those cities where the fireworks are illegal. And they have the same problems with enforcement that we do. To think reducing the number of days fireworks are illegal in Norwalk, if you think that's going to solve the problem, I don't think it is. I believe that any additional restrictions we impose will mostly impact those that follow the ordinance, which are residents that probably aren't causing problems under current ordinance. I believe the main problem with our current ordinance is the inability to properly enforce any fireworks ordinance. Whether you ban them or not, that's what it really comes down to, is enforcement. And that's due to restrictions placed on local law enforcement jurisdictions by state law. We've taken some steps in regards to the nuisance ordinance, and we actually gave out a ticket this year. My belief is at this time, we're better off enhancing our ability to enforce our ordinance and doing what we can to make that process easier, rather than reducing the number of days we allow fireworks to be set off. Until we get the enforcement worked out, any changes to the ordinance, I think, are moot. We're just going to have all the problems the rest of the metro has. People are going to be lighting them off no matter what. So who wants to go first with their thoughts, questions?
I'll go first, Mayor.
All right, go for it.
I appreciate it. Normally, you and I agree on just about everything, and I appreciate it.
Not this one, huh?
Maybe not completely. You know, I've been doing some thinking about this because I hear a little bit from both sides. And, you know, part of me says, wouldn't it be interesting to put the thing on the ballot to decide whether or not we should allow fireworks? And wouldn't it be interesting to put it on the ballot for people to determine the number of days that it might be shot for? If, assuming one would pass, then the other one would apply. I don't know. I don't know if that's just the way to go or not. But it's hard to legislate common sense. It really is. And I think where our challenge mostly is in the realm of common sense. And so with that in mind, if I could ask Luke to play a video that one of my friends sent to me, and this occurred here in the city of Norwalk. Watch people run. I would have thought that some of those neighbors might have called in, but you know, I don't believe they did. I haven't been able to find any record of them calling in. I'd have probably called in if I was a neighbor. I might have talked to them personally, actually.
Yes.
But you know, on the number of days and the length of the days, maybe we do need to take a look at making a change. Now, I know it's going to be tough, right? And I understand what you're saying. Because if fireworks are available, you know, they've got them in their hand, right? And I know that's a handicap for us. I realize that. I hope the public realizes that too, with whatever we try to regulate.
Can I clarify that one?
You certainly
Real quick? Okay, so state law, as far as the sale of of fireworks go. State law has truly tied our hands. We can somewhat restrict to a particular zoning, but we cannot stop the sale of fireworks because of state law within the city of Norwalk.
Right, so they can buy them anytime in their window. Then we have to hope that whatever regulations we put in place. And, you know, I know Jim has scratched his head a few times with me trying to figure out how you can legislate common sense. And we haven't cracked that nut yet. We sure would like to. And we've looked at, you know, is it possible to make things simpler to enforce, right, for the police department? And thought we'd come up with some ways that maybe, you know, it would be less problematic. I don't know if we're there yet. I guess from where I'm sitting, I wouldn't mind taking a look at reduced number of days and maybe a review of the time, distance, you know, how late we allow fireworks. And I don't know, I wonder what the other council members think, you know, about that or anything else with
Well, no surprise that every year I come here and ask that fireworks be banned. I wasn't in favor of them being approved in the first place. Last year, I suggested that we at least limit to July 3rd and 4th, just 2 days. And I would like to go with that again, because I know I'm going to lose about getting them banned entirely. So I think, you know, you said that people will still set them off illegally, yes, but you also said that a lot of the people are following, you know, what the city is allowing them to do. And so I think that those same people will follow if you limit the time period to the 3rd or the 4th, or whatever. But I think a lot of people will follow that. And I see no reason why, I say this every year, I see no reason why we need to have the weekend before and the weekend after. I really don't understand why you need to set off fireworks after July 4th. I mean, the holiday is over. So I would like to, first preference, ban them all together. Second preference, July 4th, the 3rd and 4th.
I have a dumb question first. I assume that the state says what size fireworks. I mean, I'm not a real fan of these bombs. Some of them are massive shells, and
boy,
you know, there's huge clay. I don't know if it's wadding or something, but it's a clay hockey puck sized item that falls down. I mean, it's all over the golf course. It's all over my yard. You know, I have debris and stuff all over my yard as well, like everyone does. And I mean, those are, I wish we could do something about, you know, these are small missiles.
So 2 problems with that. Well, 3 really. One of them is the state of Iowa has different rules than what the state of Missouri does. So Missouri allows you to sell larger ones. You can't shoot them off in Missouri. You can't shoot them off in Iowa, but they can sell them in Missouri. So people are buying those, bringing them back up here and shooting them off. And I would love for an officer to look at a firework and say it's a larger than 1.5 inches diameter when it's going off, because you don't, they won't know. Even looking at them, the difference between 1.5 inches or 2 inch, I think some 2-inch ones are actually legal, but it's the amount of gunpowder that goes in them in Iowa that limits them. The Missouri ones that have 2 inches have more gunpowder, which is part of the problem. So I would tell you that the state of Missouri is screwing that up for us because they're technically not legal to shoot off there either. I would just say the officers don't have the officers don't have a difference. They wouldn't know the difference between 1.5 inches, a 2 inch, and a 3 inch when it's going off. And by the time it's done and destroyed, they can't tell the difference what it is. So the fire marshal's supposed to be in charge of that, but they aren't enforcing that at all. So they're enforcing what's being sold. But if someone's crossing state lines, I think Wisconsin's the same way. You can buy bigger ones in Wisconsin and you can shoot off.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
I only know that one good, so I thought I'd that.
I think when it comes to the time, I could definitely see it cutting down. I think 10 days is a little excessive. This time, I don't know why, but this year after July 4th, it felt labored. it's like Christmas carols after New Year's. It just didn't. seem- I think it should probably end on the 4th. I think this year is a good example of where we could have 5 days, have it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, for example, have it end on, I think 4th is,
4th was on Sunday.
is the 4th on Sunday?
It was on Sunday this year.
Okay, so 4th is on Monday is what my thought was. So we could go 5 days, would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Something like that. I don't think we need to. I think this is something that could be adjusted every year. We don't have to make it a one ordinance that will work for the rest of our life. We can work it out. But I definitely see it shortened a bit.
On the other side of the coin too, 2 years ago, my brother-in-law came from Colorado with his wife to visit us over the 4th of July, which was pretty nice. We went down and watched the city fireworks, and they were extremely impressed with the job that was done and the fireworks. And then on the way back, we saw the rockets, red glare and everything all over town. And he told me, he said, it's really nice to be back in a place where people are free. And because out there, everything is big. You can't do nothing. Doesn't matter. It's all down. And not just fireworks either. So there's two sides to the coin. Right. And I understand, these folks are here and they got valid grievances. I don't doubt them for a minute. But there are also folks on the other side of the coin, right? They got another point of view. So we got to consider all of them, I think. But I'd like us to take a look at reducing the length of time that these things are allowed to be set off, the duration of the day that they're allowed to be set off. I could probably buy into your 5-day concept, I think.
I was just brainstorming. I do want to add though, I get a lot more from constituents. Thanks for letting us shoot off fireworks. And people think that, the complainers are noisy and all that kind of stuff. But I honestly think you're way outnumbered by the people that absolutely love fireworks.
I'd also like to see if there's a way we can figure out to prosecute people for tremendous stupidity. I mean,
Stupidity.
But where they're endangering, right?
They're endangering everybody.
Yeah.
I agree.
And it's those people that normally ruin it for everybody else.
Yep.
Which is why most of these people are in here, because somebody shot off fireworks at their house, most of them, right? And I'd like to think that a normal neighbor wouldn't do that. Norwalk nice and all that, right? I mean, you would think about what your impact is. And I don't know, how we can legislate common sense, Jim, I don't know. But I think there should be a way, if somebody, we should be able to draw a line and say, listen, that was stupid, right? And we should be able to prosecute them for stupidity. Really, that's what it boils down to. And I don't know how you write that.
Well, some of it's already covered, like the video you showed. That was out on the road. We witnessed that. We knew who it was. We could prosecute that.
It was in a driveway. It was in a driveway.
It was in a cul-de-sac.
It was in the cul-de-sac.
It was in the middle of cul-de-sac, which is not part of the drive. That's the road.
Yeah, no, that
Okay, all right.
so that could have been prosecuted. The
Reckless disregard.
the waste created by it. I think the thing is, if you had a witness showing where it was coming from, I think you could establish a case against it. But the problem is, if you're gonna allow fireworks, you can't control the waste of the fireworks. So, it's basically, I think by saying fireworks are okay, you're saying these shells and the waste is okay, because there's no way to exclude it that I know of. And, the gentleman had a valid point. Our ordinance can't authorize neighbors to trespass onto other neighbors to clean up garbage.
Right.
So that's a very difficult issue.
Yeah.
In a vacuum, certainly, you could try to, if you had a proper witness saying, oh yeah, he washed it off and here's all the garbage, you could probably get a judge to find him guilty of that. But it's completely inconsistent because I don't think there's any way to control it. So I don't think you can handle that part of it. There's,
Actually can control the debris, and when it's windy and blowing onto your
Yeah.
neighbors, you shouldn't be shooting them directly right next to the fence on the neighbors.
well, maybe you have distance requirements from property lines that are on little postage stamp lots where it is impossible from doing it, you know.
Because when they shot it off right next to his fence, they knew where the debris was going that
Yeah.
day. It was all going in their neighbor's yard. I mean, that's,
Well, you would think.
yeah,
that, yeah.
there's a reason when they shoot the show off down here, we have a large area that we block off, and the next day we're out there with rakes raking it up. I mean, it's not a simple.
But there was debris outside of that area as well.
That was from the. I would tell you, yes, there was some debris outside, but I would tell you the bulk of that was from what was getting shot off on the street at 11 o'clock that night. Because I was up there and stuff was getting shot off on the street at 11 o'clock that night.
There was, but that changed.
But there were larger, you
That's
had some
another
larger
point.
shells, right? Shell debris in yours.
I had a lot of fallout from the city show in my.
But that's
I
another
wish
point.
you
Is
did on me.
how do you identify?
That's my
debris? I mean, oh, that's his debris.
No, that was
That's his
mine,
debris over
sorry.
here.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I mean,
I suppose you could try to put some distance requirements in it, not unlike DNR has for hunting within a certain distance of a farmhouse out in the middle of
you
the
know, that,
country. I mean, you could say 50 feet of another property line,
that might be worth looking at.
Without permission.
yeah, without permission.
So if they have permission, I'm okay with it.
That might be worth looking at. I don't
How
know
do-
what the
okay.
rest of them think.
So
There's
you
a
say
way.
50 feet, you're not gonna fit on very many residential lots
Without permission.
without permission. That's
So
right.
then it's gonna be neighbors together doing it, not.
But your enforcement is gonna rely on
A complaint.
somebody, the neighbor.
It's still gonna be difficult. There's no.
The neighbor is going to have to say, I want to prosecute that guy.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, a police officer could see it and say, okay, where's your written permission from the neighbor?
But you have to
You
see
still have
it.
the
Or have to
officer
see
could, yeah, they would have to see it. So there's still the
You
basic.
still have to have a complaint from, I mean, the homeowner has to make a complaint, or the property owner has to make a complaint. Even if a police officer sees it, I don't know that the police officer, I mean, I don't know that it's a good position for our police to have to be in, to go up and say, hey, show me proof that you have permission, when there's been no complaint about it.
Right.
Right.
You're right. And I think you make a good point. And in most of these cases, it would have to be the complainant would be the witness for the location where it was shot.
But
Because most of them, the officers are gonna see it anyway.
if I could, that is, the whole complaint thing is part of my response to all this. I do agree that I think our term is too long. I think it's unnecessarily long. I appreciate the fact that we want to give people the time to enjoy both ends of the weekends, but I think it's unnecessarily long. But all of the complaints that we get about the noise and the debris, I mean, I understand the noise being disruptive, being traumatic. I understand all that. But when people come to us after the fact and say, this is what happened in my neighborhood, do something about it. That's not how things work. When something happens in your neighborhood, don't go clean up your neighbor's trash from your yard. If you saw your neighbor do it, call the police, take pictures, get some evidence that this happened, and make a complaint with the police so that the police can take some action. Somebody coming to city council and saying X, Y, and Z happened this year or whatever, we can't act on that. We can act on, or the police can act on, actual information that happens with evidence and witnesses and testimony. I understand we don't always have that, but most of the complaints that I have heard have been, well, I saw my neighbor shooting off fireworks and I watched as that debris landed on my roof and that neighbor didn't come clean it up. So call the police. You have recourse. You are a witness. You can do something about it. But coming to city council 3 months later to complain isn't the recourse to take action at the time. I'm not saying that we don't have some work we need to do on our ordinance, and every year we revisit the issue and we tweak it and we make some changes. But I think that in addition to that, there needs to be some personal and community responsibility.
Can I go now? I've got a few questions and one's for Captain Porter. So I saw the note about the unexploded one.
Mhm.
What did your department do with it?
You know what, I have to look back at the report. I know that they laddered the house. It was an area where the homeowner couldn't get to it just from distance. So we did ladder it and we got it from there, and I don't know how they disposed of it.
Okay. I'm just curious if there was a
Yeah.
cost to us because it's an explosive, so it's not like we can just throw it in the garbage.
I could get some
So
information.
I'm just curious.
but I don't know.
I'm assuming there was cost involved in that to get rid of it.
I mean, we do a lot of things that are what we consider public assist that we don't charge for, so.
Well, and I'm not even, I'm just asking because that was probably
Mhm.
one of the most concerning ones I saw.
I'll follow
What
up.
does ladder it mean? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. They put a ladder to the house so they can climb up the ladder. Sorry.
Just a ladder.
He thought it was a firefighter technical term.
There you go.
Using a ladder. Got
They
it.
use the ladder.
I heard you talk about the neighborhoods, and the pieces and that reminded me, I've heard a lot of people say, well, I don't think I'm gonna ever give to the community show again because my neighborhood show's great. And if everybody's neighborhoods are doing this, why don't we do the community show? And I always say, so who could see it? And they said, well, my block could see it. Great. And they said, who else could see it? My block could see it. Great. And that's the response is, you have to remember the consumer grade fireworks are designed to go 50 feet in the air, not 300 or 500 or 600 feet in the air. So I want to say that because I don't want to hear my neighborhood show is great, so we don't need to support the community shows anymore. I've heard that a lot, and I'm
You got
tired
it
of
in there.
I've got a little, I kind of think we should be supporting it. So just a heads up, I'm tired of hearing my community, my neighborhood was great, and they only spent like $1,200. Why is the city spending so much more? Because only 15 houses could see your show, and we make it so that thousands of people, And then the last one, and I don't remember, I think it was Dale that said this. You said you equated the fireworks ordinance a little bit to the open burning ordinance. The open burning, I don't remember even when that happened. It's been a while. I went and looked at it, but they stopped open burning from the standpoint of smoke was going from my yard to my neighbor's yard. And it's the best analogy I've heard so far, by the way. I think it's great. So. But fireworks create a lot of smoke too. They create not just the smoke and the debris, but they create a lot of smoke. So it was one of the best arguments I've heard for mixing them all together. Now I will tell you, I'm not for mixing them all together. I could do that. I'm okay with it, but I'm not quite to 5 days either. I'm at 3. I was on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That's kind of where I was from. July 3rd, 4th, 5th, the day before, the day after, and the holidays. So. That's kind of my 2 cents on it all. I don't want to ban them because I think that 90% of the people that are shooting them off responsibly.
Yes.
Do they need to shoot them off for 10 days? Do they need to shoot them off for 38 days? No. The 10 I thought was excessive the last time we did. I think I was pushing for 3 or 5 then. I don't remember, Stephanie. You and I talked about, we were in that 2 to 5 range, I think, at that point anyway. But I'm at 3. It's the most reasonable to me. Then as far as I like that can't shoot it off in 50 foot without permission. I still like that piece of it. I don't know, maybe that would cut down a little bit, but I don't think it will. I don't know that I want to do that either. I do like the option for zoning ordinance piece of adding some space off of residential properties. Yes. If one of their storage containers went up and the group that was stationed right up there by the that Sunset Drive property, they actually had one of their units catch on fire, and it was Urbandale and Windsor Heights this year on the 5th. Clive. Yeah, they had one catch on fire, and it was contained.
It was due to, they had set it off shorter than the distance, and then they had taken the debris and put it into a garbage can next to where they were being stored, which then caught the storage unit on fire. And there was explosives.
But yes, but it was contained successfully in the end.
It was because they were in a commercial area.
But it had that been that close to the fence and some of that brush and trees at that one, I can't imagine what we probably would have lost a few houses, honestly, because that one wouldn't have been you wouldn't have been able to contain that as quickly because there wasn't space around it to protect you.
It was different because it was a storage unit. It wasn't a tent for one, and their zoning where it was there was, it had to be in a commercial area. It wasn't allowed in where we are, so.
So I would tell you that for me, the limitation on distance is important because the wood fences, the brush, the bushes, things, it was dry this year too. I think we had some rain right before, which actually right before the 4th of July, which helped a lot this year, but just I think I've belabored the point quite a bit, but I don't want to cut it to 0 because I think that's penalizing a lot of people that don't deserve it. Again, it's 5 to 10% of the population that's abusing things, and they were probably the 5 to 10% of the population that was shooting them off before they were legal, honestly, anyway. So
I wonder if the staff might be able to bring us a proposed ordinance that might, you have a fill in the blank number of days or 2 choices, 5 and 3, and then add the restriction on distance that we were discussing as far as zoning, for the sales.
For the sales of.
Yeah, yeah.
What kind of distance?
I got a question for Luke. So you're saying that there should be a 300-foot distance? You should not ignite fireworks within 300 feet of a.
When you look at like all the things that they're required beyond what we require in their tent, they're required to put up notice that you're not supposed to set off a firework within 300 feet of this tent.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that the state or anyone comes and enforces that. It's just it's basically telling people, don't be stupid and set off fireworks near the fireworks tent.
I will say that that's not enforceable because it's the state fire marshal's office that is overseeing that, and they are a few people that are overseeing all of the communities. So if we as local jurisdiction took over that, then we could enforce that more.
Well, we could set up zoning so that you can't, zoning says you can't set it within 300 feet of a house, then
Right.
they never set it up.
Yeah. If you look at our map, that kind of gets back to the discussion about saying we're going to have them in industrial districts, because all of our commercial properties that we'd allow a stand right now are within 300 feet of a residential property. So if you go to that 300 route, we're saying no stands in town. And so far we've
They'd be down in the industrial area, right? Probably.
well, right now, yeah, that would then put them down in any of the industrial.
I would be okay with that personally, but.
So, I mean, if we went that route, you might as well just say industrial zoning instead of doing the 300-foot stuff, but.
Yeah, I'm not okay with that, with respect. We debated this last time we had this issue. The businesses asked us to allow them to do it. They get some revenue from it. Our citizens may very well go to the industrial areas, but there is a lot of traffic that comes into our commercial areas because of fireworks. I'm not in favor of effectively banning them from our commercial areas.
But we had fireworks stands within 100 feet of a resident. So those
Within
residents
50.
shouldn't, within.
No, right,
those
I'm not
residents shouldn't be
saying,
Firing, shooting off, or?
no, I'm not saying that we shouldn't put some other distance, but we can do other distance without effectively moving them out of our commercial areas. That's what I heard Luke say. Maybe I misunderstood.
No, that's correct. On the map that I put in the thing, the 100 and 200 foot or the 150 foot radius pretty much gets rid of the one that was the concern last year by El Dorado. 200 and 300 start impacting the other 3 that we had concerns from in the past, but were more related to the way they were conducting their sales, not necessarily the proximity of things.
So for the fireworks stands that were there, if you go to 200 feet, that would only allow 2 of them to be open.
That would be the one that was in front of Ace, the Bueno tent, and then the tent over by Winds.
But 100 feet, it would only knock out 1. The other 3 could survive.
And while it knocks out one, there may be, I certainly haven't looked, but there may be some other place in the city that they can find to meet the requirements. I mean, it's not like we're targeting one. We're just
Right.
saying that's no longer an appropriate location.
Maybe we should go with the 200 feet. And then, you know, they can find a location that works, zoned properly, that's 200 feet or more away from a residence.
So if they had their tent in front of that building instead of the back, they would be 200 feet from all the residences? Or would the apartments across the street be the problem then?
Are we talking which one are you referring to?
Just be the one behind the Rocher. I'm just curious.
The one behind the Rocher, I don't know that it could get 200 feet away from the houses
They
to
would
the
be-
east.
I don't think it could.
And part of it is, there's a lot of, we can really craft it a lot of different ways to make a lot of different things happen. You can say from distance to a residence, so now your tent to the actual structure. This is going under the concept of structure to property line. So it just depends on how you want to look at it. If you said 200 feet and if it was to the actual tent to the residential structure, then the DeRocher one would be allowed. You know, it's right outside of the houses there.
Dumb question. If we have this type of situation where they're here, the people in those two homes are not allowed to shoot off fireworks. Is that correct? Has
They
anyone
should be
notified
allowed,
them?
they should
Yeah.
be allowed to shoot off fireworks. The problem is you got a north
But
wind
it's-
and
Well, I
something
know.
happens, it's gonna go into the fire.
There's no like hard and fast law that says they can't set off fireworks. There's just this statement that the vendors have to put up in their tents that say, don't set off within 300 feet. So if you were trying to look at like a distance, to me, when I learned that, it's like, well, there's our first option for a distance, 300 feet. They're already putting it in there. But there's no one is coming by and saying, don't set off in your backyard if you're within 300 feet of one of these.
I think you're looking at a really dangerous situation on that one.
Mhm.
I think it's amazing that they could write laws like this. So anyway, I agree with you on that one. But that appears to be a dangerous situation when you think about it.
So 200, 300.
Probably the 200, I think.
Well, why don't we suggest that if that ordinance is going to be written, since we're talking about a fire hazard, it be written with some input from our fire chief or our interim fire chief, so that instead of us all speculating or concluding what the danger is, there's somebody with some knowledge and training that gives us some meat behind our position.
There's got to be a reason why the fire marshal says 300 feet.
No, the fire marshal doesn't enforce it. So you tell me what the reason is. They have a law that they do nothing about.
So this-
We may come to the same conclusion. I just think that if we're going to change the ordinance regarding that, I think that our fire department should have some input. They may say the same thing, but then I think we're in a better position in the future to say, look, we talked to the fire department and this is what their concerns are and we are following them. They're the professionals in the area.
You know, Mayor, I always value staff input.
Yeah.
I really do.
So Captain Porter, are you prepared to say have any input, or would you prefer to come back and?
I mean, I would prefer to do some research on my own, but I think that the state has set 300 feet for a reason. And so if we then on our own are saying, well, we're just going to disregard what the state says because we want to keep them in our commercial district, then are we being negligent to say, well, we think 100 feet is okay, but the state is saying 300.
So
This is just off the top. Like I have done no research on it, but that's just my feelings. They've set that 300 feet for a reason. And the fire that Councilmember Lester was talking about, no further damage was done because it was in an industrial area further than 300 feet when that fire broke out. And it could have been very dangerous had it been a tent in the areas that we have now that would have caught fire. We would have had a very different situation.
I just wanted to mention, I did call the fire marshal's office when I read that and had to, because I wanted to understand their intent from that. And I agree with everything Jen just said, but from what the fire marshal's office told me was they don't view that as something that the city should be like that we should be go out there and making sure that people aren't setting off within 300 feet of those. It's something that they put in there more for liability purposes and just kind of as a disclaimer for people doing that so that somebody doesn't buy their bottle rockets and go over in the parking lot and start shooting them off. So, you know, to me, what I gathered from that discussion with the fire marshal's office was they picked a number. I don't know how much of a legitimate number or concern that was. So I would say we would want to do some research on that to be able to have Jen weigh in a lot more on her position on it from the fire aspect, and then just to get a better understanding of what they're trying to do.
Yeah, so let's.
Well, one of the things that we're talking about is asking certain members of the staff to make some amendments and propose an ordinance. That's why I wasn't expecting Jen to have answers today. Sorry, Captain Porter. I was simply saying that she should weigh in when whoever on staff modifies or rewrites this ordinance for proposal. I'm fully expecting she's going to take the time to do her due diligence. She always does.
And I'd also like to hear from the police chief too, as a part of consideration, if there's something in there we can do smarter for enforcement. I don't know what that'd be.
For the zoning, we're gonna do some more research on distance.
Yeah, we can do some research. I mean, we can go ahead and craft what that, I mean, that's an easy ordinance to craft, and then it's just deciding on what number to put it in there.
Okay.
So.
Base at any of those locations, if there's an actual fire, the number of vehicles and buildings around, especially up in Winds and Fairway, that would be a disaster beyond.
Oh, yeah.
Industrial is probably the safest way to go. In spite of distances, all this, it just brings to light, especially if there was a fire, the number of cars and all of that. That would be just.
And actually, industrial might be the smartest play. May not make all the people in our commercial district happy, but.
Right.
At some point, I think we're protecting them as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely would.
Yeah, you're right.
I have one last statement, if I could.
Sure.
And this is primarily directed towards our citizens that were here to speak.
Right.
Little background, previous to 2017, it was illegal to detonate or sell fireworks in the state of Iowa. Contrary to the League of Cities, the Fire Chiefs Association, many zoning officials, it was recommended to the state of Iowa that they not make it legal to detonate fireworks or to sell. The cities were dealt a hand. One thing that this council talked about was the fact that by making it illegal in the community, we knew we were going to have people doing detonation. So an early discussion was at least the people that are willing to follow the law, we're allowing them or giving them an avenue, as opposed to the only people being able to do detonation are those choosing to do it illegally. So you can have more of an impact. And I know that it seems impossible, but you can go to your state legislators and you can attempt with them the same that you have with us to have them reverse that law and make it illegal across the state for sale and detonation both.
In fact, they come down to the mayor's coffee too once a month, I think. Yep. So they'd be right here to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for stating that. That's.
And I met one of my neighbors tonight and it was pretty intense this year.
Yeah.
No, on Sycamore.
Okay, so that's what we're gonna do with zoning. So I've heard third and fourth. I've heard, I've heard third, fourth, and fifth.
First through fifth.
I've heard, let's start looking at it on a yearly, look when the 4th of July is and figure out a time frame. And for 2022, it looks like the first is on a Friday, the 4th is on a Monday, do 1st to the 4th. That was a question, not a statement.
I think that if we do it like that, if it's an ever moving date, we will have far more issues. I think we need to just set dates and keep that consistent. I just think that if every year nobody knows what the date is, it's going to be far more problematic.
Chief Staples is shaking his head yes to that statement.
At least I got one thing right tonight.
I would like.
Hey.
I would like to end on the 4th.
And on the
I don't care if it's 5 days, 3 days, 7 days. I would like it to end on the 4th.
I agree with that.
Okay. So you say 3rd and 4th. What say you?
I'd say 5. 5 days.
5 days?
Always have it the same. Ending on the 4th,
June 30th to July 4th.
whatever it is this year.
So that would be 5 days.
I was third, fourth, fifth, and I think fifth is just because it rains on third and fourth. That's just my minus. Otherwise, it'd be third, fourth.
3rd and 4th.
I can be had either way. Either the 3 days or the 5 days. I just think it needs to get shorter. I don't have a strong preference.
Jackie, you got a preference?
I would prefer 1 to 5. I agree with David that if there's rain or whatever, giving him an extra day, that option, that satisfies me. I'm happy with a shorter period of time, but not, in my opinion, an unrealistically shorter period of time. So 1 to 5 would be my preference.
1 to 5 days or the first?
No, July 1 through July 5.
Okay.
Well, that was a little different. I thought she was saying 1 to 5 days.
Yeah.
Mayor, could I make one other comment about individual fireworks on July 4th? As a police officer, you're asking us to enforce fireworks after 10 p.m. on July 4th. And you're asking the citizens to participate in the city fireworks show that ends at 10:15 or 10:20 on July 4th. The state allows fireworks on July 4th to go till 11. I think we should consider that on July 4th, to allow them to go to 11. We give people, and where my house sits, I can see the city show from my driveway. And in the last 2 years, I've not been able to watch the city show. I have watched it, but it's been an echo chamber because I've had the neighbors behind me doing fireworks at the same time, not watching the show. So part of the reason they do that is because they have to finish by 10 o'clock. The state allows it to be to 11 on the 4th. I think it's something we should consider. That, I mean, in one respect, it's raising the speed limit to control speeding, but on the other hand, it's giving the people an opportunity to participate in both things.
Yeah, we could have it earlier.
I agree.
We'll do that now.
So July 4th, go till 11.
Yeah. What is it on the other nights now? Is it 10?
10 o'clock.
Is that too late or is that, what do you got? What do you folks say?
It's daylight until well 9:45, 9:50.
Depends on which way you're looking at daylight.
Yeah.
Well, that's true too.
I don't think 10 o'clock is too late.
Till about 9:45, yeah.
What'd you say, Jackie?
I said, I don't think 10 o'clock is too late.
We cut them off at the beginning and said they couldn't shoot them off till 4, right?
Correct. The state allows you to start at 9 a.m. And after the 2018 season, when we reduced it to 10 days, we changed it so that they can't start before 4 p.m. We changed from 4 p.m. We changed our law to make it 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., June 29th to July 8th. From what the state allows, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. from June 1st to July 8th, except for the Saturday and Sunday before and after the 4th, and on the 4th, the state allows it to 11. That's what the state allows. That's what we did for 2017 and 2018. For the 2019 season, we changed that to 10 days from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. only.
Okay, so. I'm gonna go back to what David proposed to begin with. So what does everybody think about the 3rd to the 4th? 4 to 10 on the 3rd and the 5th, and then until 4 to 11 on the 4th.
Just 3 days of fireworks.
But it sounds like we probably have at least 3 votes to go to 3 days from just the opinions expressed here today. So.
I agree. I won't vote against that.
Stephanie, you'd rather have just 3rd and 4th, or yeah, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Maybe have a rain day.
I'll ask again next
All right, that's fair. We're going from 10 to
year.
10 to 3. All right.
3 is okay. I'd like it to end. I'd rather do, I'd really like it to end on the 4th. I don't care if there are half price sales in the 4th on all the fireworks. That is not a reason to have it on the 5th. Don't like it.
I think they ought to end on the 4th myself.
They need to end on the 4th.
Second, third, fourth, we just watch the weather forecast.
Yeah. 2, 3,
I'm
4.
good with, I think 3 is the magic number for me. Yeah.
2, 3, 4 is fine with me.
2,
I can
3,
see
4,
that.
and
You're the council, you get to choose.
I would
2, 3, 4.
I propose
2, 3, 4,
2, 3,
11
4.
o'clock on 4th of July.
Jackie, 2, 3, 4.
Fine.
Include New Year's Eve in there, because
Oh, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, we'll leave New Year's Eve the way it is.
leave that one alone, just because.
Because it's not an issue yet.
Because the windows are closed and no one hears them anyway.
Okay, so Luke, Paris,
Yes.
2nd to the 5th,
Fourth.
2nd to the 4th, sorry. Tried to slip that in, but
I see that,
caught
yeah.
me. 2nd to the 4th, 2nd and 3rd from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. on the 4th from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
I think it was right.
Good with that, Jackie?
Yep.
So are we good with this topic then?
I think so.
I am.
Then we're gonna hear back from the staff all about the sales location.
All right. And we'll bring that back. All right. Yeah, can we take a break? Please? All right, so we're gonna take a 5-minute break and we will return, well, we'll just say 7:30. We'll get going again.
Okay.
All right?
Glass of water.
Yeah.
We made one out of what's left in there.
Probably. Cleaned up at 300 feet. I don't have to do full
Come
time.
out on the fifth and help clean up after that city show, and you could probably finish up. What I found out there. You know that I had one of those explosives sitting up there.
Really?
Well, and
Still
and
haven't.
to that point, like, your guys.
Well, did you know I was like,
Knowing that somebody
away from
50 seconds
Oh,
fireworks.
that one, yeah.
And 200 more feet of one of those. And they're not.
Because we were midfield, rather.
So that's a whole different.
We were not
We're on the fence, just the smoke was bad that. That was one of the years we had a lot of smoke rolling that way. We've cut the boxes back some. And that's actually what creates the most rear of the boxes. That's where that was street.
It's,
We started looking at
the only thing is just, right, our business owners and the people that do it would say.
You ready to get going again?
Commercial because it's right.
Jackie, you ready? All right, you guys ready? Are you ready, Lindsay?
Yes.
All right, here we go. We'll come back in order. Item number 5 on the agenda is welcome of guests and public comments. So this is for non-agenda items. You'll have a 3-minute time limit. We can't take action on these tonight since they aren't on the agenda, but also if you'd like to comment on any item in the consent agenda, now would be the time. So do we have any takers?
Yes.
Come on up. State your name and address again.
Dale Beanworth, 8833 Sunset Drive. You're asking me to do this all this time just so the crazies out there know where exactly we're going.
No, that's part of the public
I
record.
wasn't being smart, funny about that.
Okay.
Okay, so I told you when I did my first 3 minutes that I felt that I would be able to rebut or counterpoint any positive comment that any of you made to continue this insane fireworks thing. Okay? And I believe I can, but I only have 3 minutes. I wish I could have individually responded. That's what I was prepared to do. Because I want to know, you don't know me, and I sure don't know you. Ed said something that, boy, his relative that came back a year ago or something, said, really nice to be back where people are free. I believe, I didn't come up with this, that your freedom to wave your hands about wildly ends at the tip of my nose. Well, I got my nose bloody last July 3rd. Shame on him. If I let him bloody it again next year, shame on me. And just to be honest with you and be open, I think shame on you. If you allowed it. When I went to Ed and I went to Chief Staples, they told me he did nothing wrong. He did exactly what you told him he could do. He hit my house with a rocket. He littered my yard. So what? You're looking at me and saying, well, what do you care? You watched a video of fireworks going off. I was told nobody responds, you listen to me. All right. Now, you watched the video.
I did not say that.
Well, that's what I was told last 2 weeks ago.
He runs the meeting. Yeah. So.
What do you want, Ed?
I was just gonna say, that's.
Just count on my 3 minutes, by the way.
No.
That's not what I remember saying. That the guy didn't do anything wrong. I did not say that. I said our ordinance makes them responsible for their debris. Our problem is, how do we enforce it?
I stand corrected.
Right, but you remember I said that?
No.
Okay, Chief.
Now. Well, thank you, Ed. Now I lost my train of thought.
You're welcome, I'm sorry.
You watched a video. That was an incredible video. My gosh. And then you guys sat here and debated, well, should we let that happen? not on the 29th. I don't think those people around there cared whether that happened on the 29th of June, the 30th of June, the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, 5th, or up to the 8th. You're allowing that to happen. That was an accident. That guy hitting my house was an accident. It's an accident you allowed. You did this. You allowed him to shoot that fireworks at my house. It was an accident. It's an accident that wouldn't have happened if he wasn't, if you didn't allow him to shoot that fireworks on July 3rd. Lee Rude writes some watchdog column or something for the Des Moines Register. I understand. I told you, I think you guys opened Pandora's box when you allowed fireworks. 7 other cities took exactly the opposite position. Said, no, I think those people in those 7 cities are just as patriotic, just as American, red-blooded American as the people in Norwalk. I really do. But those city councils took a leadership position and said, no, it's ridiculous to allow people to shoot fireworks in their postage stamp backyards where they know, and somebody said it during this thing here, you can't control where those fireworks go, especially with a wind or something. My neighbor told me that. He says, what do you want me to do? You already picked up your debris. What do you want from me? And I told him, I said, I want an assurance this isn't going to happen next year. He said, I can't control that once I launch the fireworks. And in the email I sent to all of you, my point was, he shouldn't be shooting fireworks if he can't say where that debris is going to go and that lit fireworks are going to go. Okay. So anyway, Lee Rude ended up one of her comments here recently. Says, leadership requires making tough choices to put the well-being of the greatest number of people first, not trying to make certain constituencies happy. You people are pandering to those people who want to shoot off fireworks. Damn it, it's their right to shoot off fireworks. We're Americans. Great to be where people are still free. You're pandering to them. I asked Chief Staples to try to talk to his officers, come up with a number of households that in Norwalk that are actually shooting off fireworks, shooting off big aerial displays. And he said, well, this is difficult because one property might be shooting off fireworks. Am I 3 minutes up?
No, not quite.
But because neighbors, they might invite the neighbors over. So do we count the 16 people on his households on his block? One guy shooting him off, but 8 of the people there are neighbors. So do we count that 8 people or households participated or just 1? So you can't get a number type thing. Well, I'm asking you, and I know you can't respond. Well, I guess you can change the rules. But so let's get a number. Let's agree on a number. Is there 50 households in Norwalk shooting off fireworks? 100, 150, 400? There are 4,523 households. Now, if you can tell me 3,000 households are shooting off fireworks, that's your constituency. If not, you're pandering.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead, Jack.
Well, we can't take action, but I do believe that we can respond. And my response is, sir, that we have a handful of people that complained about fireworks, and we have far more people that have expressed to council members their gratitude that they can shoot off fireworks. So your statement that we are pandering to them can easily be flipped around and say that if we ban fireworks, we would be pandering to you. So that is my response.
Can I respond to that?
No, not tonight. Anybody else? Hearing none, we are going to move on to consent agenda. Let's see, we have to approve the September 2nd, 2021 minutes of the regular city council meeting. I have expenditures, tax abatements, have a resolution to approve pay estimate number 1 and change order number 1 to Iowa Contracting Incorporated for Cherry Parkway Rehabilitation Project. We have a resolution to approve Public Works plow truck and snow removal equipment purchase, and we have monthly reports. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Okay, I got a motion by Reva. I got a second by Baker. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Reva,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7 is old and new business for consideration, discussion, and possible action. So tonight we have a public hearing regarding the Northwest Service Area Trunk Sewer Extension Project. So we'll open up the public hearing at 7:40 PM. So this project is going to be to extend the sanitary sewer signature just installed to get it to Legacy Golf Course, remove the lift station. In addition to that, the project is going to extend gravity sewer to the immediate parcel just to the west of Legacy Golf Course. And this is a key project opening up development land from Legacy to 50th and south to North Avenue. Lastly, the elimination of the lift station removes a bottleneck that was holding back the Sunset Estates development. Wayne, got anything you want to present to council
No.
besides that?
Great summary. Thank you.
Thank you. Lindsay, have we received any oral or written comments on this item?
We have not.
Do you have any public comment on this item? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:41 PM. So item 7B is a resolution rejecting bids for the Northwest Service Area Trunk Sewer Extension Project. We think due to time frame, the bids came in high, so we'd like to reject the bids. Wayne, you got anything else?
I guess B&K received the bids, yet they're about 40% higher than we anticipated. Tony did a lot of work reaching out to bidders that are people that bid it and contractors that did not bid. And that was the common theme was they don't have time to do it this, I have it done, I think it was December 10th was the completion date. They don't have time to get it done this fall. So the next, later in the agenda, there's a rebidding the package. So B&K turned it around right away, rebid, got a package put together, rebid it with a completion date of April 1st. So they did a great job doing research and adjusting the project.
Okay. All right, so any discussion or comments, questions from council?
You know, the only comment I've got, Mayor, and it's indirectly, I guess. And I'm in favor of doing this project. But I've got concerns from some of the property owners on the previous portion of it. And I'm sure the city staff is keeping an eye on that to make sure that standards are met. And I sincerely hope they are met. Otherwise, they may not be real confident on my yes vote in the future about different things. So I guess I want to express that.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Can I get a motion to approve the resolution? The approval of the resolution is to reject the bids as presented in the packet.
Motion. Second.
I got a motion by Reva. I'll give Livingston the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. So the resolution ordering construction of certain public improvements of Northwest Service Area Trunk Sewer Extension, approving preliminary plans and fixing a date for hearing thereon and taking the bids therefore. Since we rejected the bids, we don't need this item anymore, or do we?
This
This is the one that
this is
we
the new
want to
one.
do. Okay, so I'll let you present, what do we need to know on it?
Same bid package as before with a different completion date.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments from council?
Is April 1st late enough for this bid back? I just don't want to go through this another time if it comes in.
The
again.
timing is critical of going to the golf course. That's what we're trying to hit. We'll have to, if we rebid this and we receive high bids again, we're likely in a position where we're probably gonna try to find more funds than change the completion date of it.
Yeah, it could also be a material issue as well, right? Delivery of actual pipe.
Correct.
Been a problem.
Factors working against us.
Yeah. So other questions, discussion from council? Okay, got a motion by Baker, second by Cool. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, motion carries. Item 7D is a resolution to approve sanitary sewer easements for the Northwest Service Area Trunk Sewer Extension Project. So these are the easements to get the pipe in the ground.
Correct. 3 property owners, Signature Properties, Legacy Golf Course, and Marco Properties on the west end. Temporary and perpetual easements for each one, all for $1.
Any questions or comments from council?
And they'll cover it only to the April 1st. Well, for the construction side, April 1st. These are extended as well.
Yeah, Tony reached out to the critical one again.
Like
Signature and the developed property of the west are in full favor. They'll work with us. The golf course is the critical one. Tony reached out to Mr. Manning and he's agreeable to that time frame to have it done by April 1 as well.
Any other questions? For public comment? And can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Cool, second by Reva. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 7E is a public hearing on a proposal to enter into a general obligation urban renewal loan agreement. So we'll open up the public hearing at 7:47 PM. So this is the public-private project we talked about locating in Norwalk Central. Project's going to consist of a public building that will house 4 full-size basketball courts and a concession area. Private building will have up to 6 configurable bays, and then there's approximately 22 acres of private outdoor space for athletic fields. This project's being built as an anchor for Norwalk Central, and we believe due to traffic surrounding the athletic facilities, there will be much commercial development in the area. Therefore, we're looking at this project as an economic development project. Holly, Luke, and Jean, you got, what would you like? Would you present that to the board?
I would just add that this action tonight allows the city to borrow the money for the land, the building, the parking lot, project management fees and engineering, and utilize TIF, tax increment financing, to pay for it.
Big step for us. There's a lot of work ahead of us. Of course, the financing is always the most critical part of it. So once we solidify that, the next steps are really going to be, design and bidding of our portion, working with developers on what that, all the grading and site preparation looks like. And then, of course, what will come back to you are development agreements. So this is just the first, probably the biggest step in moving the Norwalk Central project forward. And Holly is online. She may have something additional.
Nope, I would say that if anybody's wondering, we will have to have the next 2 development agreements approved before the whole project can actually move forward. So this is just kind of, like Luke said, this next step in the whole Norwalk Central development happening. So this allows us then to move into the sports campus development agreement, which is very close to being ready with a final draft, and then the landowners development agreement as well for the infrastructure. So within the next 2 months, after tonight, we're able to actually put those motions forward.
Awesome. Lindsay, we received any oral or written comments on this?
We have not.
Is there any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:49 PM. So item 7F is a resolution taking additional action on proposal to enter into general obligation urban renewal loan agreement. So we just had the public hearing for the project. This is a resolution that's going to fund the building of the project. Correct?
That is correct.
All right. Do you got anything else to add?
Just that the funding could probably potentially take place over 2 years. It could be so much this year, so much next, or we could push it back depending on your comfort level.
Holly, you got anything else to add?
Oh, but I am so excited. I can't even believe we're finally at this point. I'm gonna die.
All right. Any discussion or comments from council? Questions?
I think it's terrific, and taxes will not go up our property. But we'll be able to have something really nice. And the fact that we can develop that area potentially for commercial is tremendous.
Yes, go ahead.
The financing that Gene has put together for this shows that it won't prompt us to have to increase taxes. But in generally speaking, you may decide to increase taxes for something else, but this particular project, I just want to make sure I clarify that.
I appreciate it.
All right. Anything else?
I'm excited for the project, but at the same time, I don't like the fact that we're delaying other projects, because I think some other projects were.
Fair. Anything else? Any public comment? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion, second.
All right, motion by Cool, second by Livingston. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Heck, yes.
Lester,
No.
All right, motion carries. I thought about saying motion fails and then seeing what Holly did, but.
That is an uncalled for joke.
Okay, so item 7G is not necessary, so we will skip over that one, correct? Yeah. Okay, so item 7H is resolution approving the capital improvement plan, general obligation financing plan. Gene, could you present this to council?
Absolutely. Due to the approval of the field house and the Beardsley project in May and the increased costs and the discussions that we've had centered around the CIP and the projects that need to be delayed based on the field house and the expense of that, I kind of thought it would be a great idea to just put things, the plan down in paper so everybody can look at it, be on the same page and be comfortable with that. We are set to go to set a public hearing October 2nd for issuing debt for the respective CIP projects. In addition to that, because of Beardsley and the timing of that, Parks and Rec Director Robin Leeper has asked that we consider a couple trail options along with Beardsley. And I'll let her speak to that in a few minutes. I just wanted to kind of go through, as you can see in that first column, we have the original amounts that we were looking at borrowing prior to Norwalk Central. Then we have the revised amounts we had talked about at different times with different council members, finance committee and economic development. Trying to think of the two committees attracted with that contractor, and then phase 3 feel comfortable with that number based on my discussions with Bolton and me. So the 125, the rescue engine, we know the cost. North Avenue rehab, we know the cost. Cherry Street, we know the cost. The dump truck, we know the cost. And I believe, I don't know if we do the parking lot, but we have the maximum of 150. Beardsley, we feel comfortable. We had that at 1.8, we got to 2.5. We have a couple grants coming in, one from the MPO to cover the remainder of that project. So that those numbers all add up with options, the 9.125. Now, as I put this together, I did put in the field house infrastructure, but I am wondering if maybe we should push back the 3.2 and the 6. It's your comfort level. We are, we're supposed to set the public hearing October 2nd. I guess we can, if we think that we're comfortable having development agreements prior to actually the day that we sell the bonds, which would be in November, then we leave it in. We can always pull that out. I just threw that in there because we are incurring some engineering fees. So whatever your comfort level would be with that, we could lower that number. We could leave it in there.
I think they're going to want to start moving as fast as they can. So we want to be able to participate in that as quickly as we can. Is that fair?
Yeah, I agree.
With that, I'd like to, first of all, anybody have any questions on any of the projects that we revised or delayed due to just the changes that we've made? to the CIP. And Robin, I'll let you talk about your trail options, if you don't mind.
So I wanted to bring up a couple options for you guys to think about and see if you wanted to add them at the same time as the Beardsley and Highway 28 project is happening. So as we have our Greenways Master Plan, Priority Project 4. That Priority Project 4 could also be known as what I'm kind of calling it as the Beardsley Trail. It starts with the section from Clearwater Drive going to Lexington Drive, which is also our phase 3 of the Great Western Trail. So we already have that in the funding. The Highway 28 project, Highway 28 and Beardsley project that Public Works is doing will include a trail on the south side of Beardsley and will connect Elizabeth Holland to Cedar Street, which is the senior living facility just west of Come and Go. It also, which is part of Priority Project 4. And then it will also give us a pedestrian crossing at that intersection there, which is also part of Priority Project 4 and the Greenways Master Plan. Option 2 would be the missing link to complete that connection from the Great Western Trail to Highway 28. That section there is about $460,000. And so that was one of the options that I wanted to have you guys think about, is that, do we want to look at advancing that? And since we are doing the Beardsley and Highway 28 project and try to do that at the same time, Snyder is the, I believe is the engineer on that project, correct? So we would look at just having Snyder be the engineer for that section as well. And then the other option is that on the east side of Elizabeth Holland, which is part of Priority Project 10, which takes that Beardsley Trail from Elizabeth Holland Park east to 80th. And so the reason I'm suggesting this small portion here, or just mentioning it to you, is because the Public Works project will extend that length of Beardsley. And so do we want to also include that in that project? And that section there will take Elizabeth Holland Park east to the first driveway entrance of Holland Point. That section there is estimated at 100,000. So I guess I just wanted to throw that out for you guys to discuss. I don't know if that needs to be, is that an action item tonight, but not anything that was in my CIP budget for this year, but
It was in the Greenways Master Plan.
it
right?
is in the Greenways Master Plan, correct?
Would this be, if you're talking about for Snyder, Wayne, is this something that could be considered an alternate within the bid when that project goes out for bid?
Yeah, I think it could.
And then that way, at least that would give some consideration if the price is right, economies of scale doing it all at once, maybe that helps make the decision.
Both 1 and 2, or which are you talking?
Yeah, I would think that you would probably do 1 and 2 as separate alternates.
No.
You have concerns with that, Wayne?
A lot.
The only thing I would have concerns with is the DOT bid letting, and I know they're a little more restrictive on how we do the alternates. I just don't know a lot about it. We'd have to look into it. What I'd probably do is have Snyder come up with it'd be a contract amendment, and just have them do some research, and when we bring that contract amendment forward, we can have maybe the funding options and bring it forward for more discussion if council wants us to put on that path.
And Robin, I know you've mentioned to me that part of the reason you brought this forward is the overwhelming positive feedback you've had already from just that, the phase one of the Great Western Trail.
Yes.
And I'll add to it, on the north side of Beardsley Street, that 8-foot trail there now, we're having a difficult time. It's gonna be hard to maintain an 8-foot trail on that side. When we reconstruct the road, we're looking at maybe making that a 6-foot or even a 5-foot with the idea of making the south side of the trail. So
Probably a good idea to add it in there as a consideration then.
Does it make sense to put option 2 in with the phase 3? Have we bid phase 3 yet?
So we have not, but that is a land water conservation fund. So the DNR is actually in final stages right now of approving that project.
You don't
So
want to mess with that.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, I agree. I'm just asking if that's something that, phase 2 just seems out of place for the, phase 1 is to me part of the, it could be part of the Beardsley intersection piece, but the other one I'm sitting there going, that seems kind of a little weird. Brian, sorry.
yeah, that's okay.
I guess I'd like to see them both in there. That's something for us to look at.
So many projects, so little.
Yeah, no kidding.
So what we're,
So what's the delay on some of these projects that, because you have 22 and 23 on there, but you don't have these projects in there. So this is me asking, what's the delay?
Well, the reason I did that is because we're getting ready to go into the next round of bonds or budget, including CIP. So I thought potentially that could change in the next 3 to 4 months. So I didn't really lay those out. We could put those in. You guys may change your mind. That was just kind of my reasoning for not moving them into 2022.
That's fine. I just was curious because I just wanted to make sure that we're not, I just feel like some of those were ones that were pretty high priority 8 months ago, 9 months ago, 5 months ago. And I'm just concerned that I don't know, I'd asked, I just don't want to lose them 3 or 4 years or 5 years down the road. But they were high enough priority in January this year, so.
and David, just let me add that by not having them in there, I think that part of what Jean expressed to me is, she said, because we've had so many moving parts with this and we're really trying to align everybody's thoughts. Jean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when we talked about it, you just wanted to make sure, hey, these are the most critical to keep these key projects moving forward. It's not that we can't do the other ones. We haven't determined that yet, but those will be revisited as part of our budget process.
Keep in mind, we probably can't do everything. Right? I mean, that's just a fact. And I look down the list, I don't see a bad thing on. Right? So we can't do them all, so we got to figure out what we need to do. I don't disagree with what she's got listed.
And I would say as far as, the big one that got delayed there, the park shelter. At the Parks Commission was, if they had to pick one or the other, do the field house. That was a higher priority than the shelter. Not that they want the shelter to go away,
No.
but
Right.
if they had to choose,
Right.
they're 100% in the field house.
Be nice if you could do them all.
Yeah. All right. What other questions, comments do you have for Jean? Any public comment? Any? Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
All right. Motion by Baker, second by Cool. Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, we need to clarify what we're approving.
Option 1 and 2 as to be bid as alternates.
Okay, for the trail. So, okay, so Wayne, you mentioned do a amendment to the contract.
Right.
To put 1 and 2 in.
We would have to have Snyder, they'll have to engineer this, so it'll be an amendment to their contract. So we'll bring that forward for council approval. And I suppose at that time would be another opportunity if council decided they didn't want to do it.
Let's get started. Drive safely.
Sorry.
All right.
So if you took action and said that you want to move forward with alternative number 2, that would be directing us to see if we can, or direct us to try and pull that option 1 and 2 into that bid package somehow. And you're saying we'd be bringing that back to council for consideration.
So you don't need to vote at this point, or do you need to vote?
I think they need to vote to be able to say that, yes, we want to put that in.
Right, well, we desire that.
And do we want as alternates, both of them as separate alternates into the bid package? Can we do that?
I think the option 1 to the east is easy to add in. It's in the work area already. The alternative, I think, makes sense to have the option 2 as the bid alternate.
Sounds good. That sounds good. Okay.
Yep.
So
Clear?
I'd make a motion for alternative 2 with what he just said.
Okay. So that's an addendum to the original.
I retract my motion and.
No, I'm sorry.
No, I'd like, because we were not specific enough. That is
Right,
correct.
okay.
Then I'll second that young lady.
Yeah, that's a good question.
What?
Did that get Lindsay what she needed?
Who made, almost, who made the second on Baker's motion?
I did.
Cool.
That's what I thought. And you're retracting your motion. You're making a motion.
Yes.
Approving the resolution as stated with alternative number 2.
And then.
With
second.
option 2 being the alternate and option 1 added into the original contract amount.
Yes.
And we'll just have to identify the funding for it then.
Yes, and I should add that you'll have till November 18th. You know, we can always lower the amount of the sell if we have to. So if a development agreement didn't happen, or I know we won't know on the park stuff, but that's easy. We can always find another area to spend it on because we have lots of park stuff. So
Okay.
it's not a huge amount like the field house.
All right. So
I'm clear.
you got both motion and second?
Yes,
Good deal. Would you call the roll?
I will. Councilmember Cool,
Yeah.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
No.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. All right, so item 7I is resolution approving an agreement with Metronet for installation of fiber data utility for Norwalk. So Metronet would like to roll out full data services via fiber clear throughout Norwalk. And this resolution approves an agreement that provides a general understanding of how the process is going to work. This agreement is not required, although a project of this scale provides Metronet with more assurance and confidence of how the rollout will occur. Take over. Or you got?
We have 2 gentlemen from Metronet.
All right.
Good evening. I'm Mark Haygood with the construction group. Ray Curtis is with me, and he's the project director for all of our construction in the Des Moines area.
Okay.
So what I'd like to do is really answer questions. We can talk about the benefits of the network. We can talk about construction, whatever you want to do. We don't want to trespass too much of our time, but mainly to answer your questions.
Questions?
Overview of what we're doing in the area, or time frame?
Yeah, time frame.
It's a couple of things. This will be I think the 9th community in the general Des Moines area that we are beginning to agree upon going forward with construction. What we're doing is that we're building out now constantly. We'll be building probably for the next 3 years. In this community here, is what we look at is go back and reach this agreement start our planning process, also get it through our board to approve the funds to do it. And we would look at beginning construction in the springtime. The neighborhood, the community this size, we'd probably say it would still take us 12 months or so. Our goal is to build them as safely, quickly, and efficiently as we can. We've learned that being in people's streets and yards for a long time is not good. So our goal is to do it, turn it up, provide services, and move on, if you will. So,
I have heard nothing but positive comments from some of the other metro communities that have worked with Metronet. In fact, one of my colleagues in Waukee said that he now has their service and he couldn't be happier. They give us no indication that they had any significant complaints. These folks really do take care of the property owners, try to make it as painless as possible.
Other questions? I guess I have a question. When I was reading the proposal in the packet, and I noticed that you folks kind of reserve the right to use the power for existing telephone. And I was wondering, is your priority to put it under the ground? Do you use the power poles where it seems like it's more effective, or are you going to use the power poles to save money and we'll see a lot of that, or what should we expect?
our strategy is to go back and build our plant in the same location the existing utilities are. So if their aerial will come aerial, if they're underground will be underground. If there is a movement to go back and underground, we understand there's some highway upgrades and whatnot work going. If that happens, we'll go back and underground at the same time everyone else is. But our plan is to go back and use the method of which is in use today.
Okay, so where it exists today, then you would expect to be able to use it. Just like
Yes.
it would be.
Yes.
And where it's underground, you would expect to be underground just like it.
Correct. And primarily the underground is going to be in utility easements.
Thank you.
I did have a question that came in from one of the council members, actually, Councilmember Riva, asked, is this something that we went out to them to solicit them to come to the community? And I said, no, that's not the case. Their business is to come and supply service. We just happen to be the next community on their list that they reached out to. There's other companies that do the same thing, but it's not a matter of us going out and searching for them. It's their option to come to us.
I think you'll find a lot of welcome customers. Right now I'm with CenturyLink, and on a good day will get 4, maybe 5. A block from me, CenturyLink gets 700. I cannot figure out why they can't move a block, but it is just, it's a freaking.
I can go in and explain that, but it's late at night.
I don't even care.
We love hearing what you're saying.
What actually matters to me is that my house gets it.
Yes, we need it.
And it's just, there is a lot, both sides. I think you're gonna have a real welcome.
Well, I appreciate that. And I will tell you, our experience in your city with Luke and Wayne has been very positive. We've worked through some issues, and I think we're ready to go. We understand once again some of your projects that you have. We'll work with the city to work with you all in your scheduling and whatnot. Once again, our goal is to get it done and turn it up. We find that the way we've been received across the overall community has been great. Once again, also, we're not asking you all to come up with any money whatsoever. So we go back and fund it. And we found that when we do that, we want to go back and work in communities that want us. That's one of the reasons we go through this process, because we want to go back and have a great relationship with your city leadership, your professional staffs, as well as your residents and businesses. Any questions? We go back symmetrical speeds up to a gig each, up and down.
I have a question that doesn't really relate to what does. So if you're, I thought that fiber had to be buried in the ground. So when you're above ground, I mean, is it impacted by weather? I mean, are you gonna have any issues with internet?
No, it is. The way it's typically done is by way of the method that's there today. And in terms of it, we can go through a long thing about it, in terms of the age and lifespan of fiber and whatnot. Wind and such, there are some places that you put it underground because of weather and issues like that. Here, obviously, there's not a great abundance of trees. You have mostly snow as opposed to ice and things like that. So the loading on power lines and fiber lines is not great. When you put it on the ground, there are other issues.
So the core, and I only have one question. It's about the cores in people's driveways potentially. In the area around here, you guys had to do a ton of them. I mean, I'm just asking, is it gonna be a commonplace thing or not?
We haven't done a lot of them.
That's,
I actually have one coming up in Clyde.
you don't want to do them. You don't want to do them. That's the look I just got from you. Is you don't want to do.
He doesn't want to do it. And it's, and
That's
we,
the concerning part.
and we've had a bunch of conversations about that. I think we've got to way forward and with permitting fees, groups and whatnot, being flexible with us, moving from one side of the street to the other, things like that. We can go back and minimize the potential for that as well.
So you say gig up, gig down.
Excuse me?
You say gig up, gig down.
Yes.
What's my limit for a month? Or is
For
there any
data limits?
Yeah.
I don't believe there are any, and we don't require contracts, so you can come and go as you please.
I'm sold.
Happy.
Yeah. Sounds like a potential market.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think
Look forward to it, and
I'm with them. I think there are so many people who are going to be happy to see you in the neighborhood.
we're enjoying starting our businesses here, and it's going great guns for us.
Good.
All right. Good. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
all have a good evening.
And thank you for staying so late. I appreciate
It's
it. I
always
hope
great
we
to
were
see democracy.
somewhat entertaining.
I like seeing council members in
Do you have
shorts.
any thoughts on fireworks at all?
No, that's right. You do. In my community, we have great fireworks at the 4th of July. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Wayne and Luke know where to catch us, so if you've got questions, please.
All right. So any public input? Anybody want to make a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Baker, second by Cool. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba. Yes. Cool.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you. Be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, item 7J is resolution accepting infrastructure and approving the final plat of Shadow Creek Estates, Plat 1. So this is Signatures Development south of Beardsley. Wayne, does the infrastructure look good over there?
Engineering is recommending acceptance with punch list items remaining.
Okay. Luke Parrish, do you got anything to add?
Not a lot, just a pretty simple final plat for single family. A road, Shadow Creek Avenue, connecting to Beardsley, and that road provides access to the townhome project that they're starting to work on as well, which is the next item on the agenda.
Okay, any questions?
Are these single family, no basement still?
I don't know that they've identified where they were gonna do slab on grade and where they weren't. Those aren't walkouts up there, so that might be the case, but I don't know for certain.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Reva, second by Baker. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston.
No.
All right, motion carries. Item 7K is resolution accepting infrastructure and approving the final plat of Shadow Creek Estates Townhomes, Plat 1. So this is the second plat for Signatures Development south of Beardsley. Wayne, does infrastructure look good on this one?
Yes, it looks good, and the majority of this will not be public.
Okay. Luke, you got anything to add?
Just again, this is the first phase of those townhomes, network of private streets. There's a couple public things as far as water line and such. And so this is going to be the first phases right up against Beardsley, and then they'll work south with other phases being brought forward in the future.
Okay. Any questions?
So the primary access off Beardsley is public, but then the roads amongst the townhome project are private, correct?
Correct. With the
Okay.
one exception that the private street actually connects to Shadow Creek Avenue, which then connects to Beardsley.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions? Hearing none, can I get a motion?
Motion, second.
Okay, so motion by Cole, second by Livingston. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Riva.
Yes.
Poole,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8. Council inquiries and staff updates. Holly, you got an update on the hotel and Norwalk Central development agreements?
I'll just run through kind of the basic high level points of it, just to make sure everybody's staying kind of in the loop and on track. Of course, we know these points can change 100 times before it's said and done. But for the most part, we're pretty on track with these things. So I'll start with cobblestone, and this is one that may have a little bit more flux by the time it's said and done, just because of the cost of construction. And every day just continues to raise since the last 8 months. And when we first started out, the cost of infrastructure was, I want to say, almost half, excuse me. And it's continued to rise. So that one might be a little bit more difficult. However, their value also continues to creep up just based on running comps and looking at the project and the size of it. So with that being said, where we're at in the process with them, they're gathering final estimates because, again, like I said, the costs continue to change, but they're in that last round of estimates. I think that they are in their final step with the DOT. One of the Luke's or Wayne may know that a little bit better than me, but I believe it's final step with DOT. And then they'll finalize their purchase agreement, and then we will bring the development agreement in front of council. So we're hoping that development agreement might be able to come forward in late November, early December. So right now we're looking at about $11 million to $12 million project. So it's still the 4-story, 60 rooms, about 41,000 square feet. 2,500 square feet will be the restaurant, steakhouse. They'll have the outdoor patios, pool, path to the beach, lake, all of that kind of great stuff with it. They'll also have an outlot, a commercial outlot parcel that could bring in another, 2 to 5 million in value once that's developed out. They've even talked about maybe adding some retail to the hotel facility itself, just connected. So it's continuing to grow a little bit, and it's a really good project. What we're looking at for the development agreement terms is for the grant or cash upfront, it would be somewhere between 1 and 1.5 million at time of C of O. And of course, we all know that the value has to come in at a certain number to be able to do that. And then the infrastructure right now costs are between 2.1 and 2.3 million. So we would rebate them that however many years that takes. Basically, initially we were looking at maybe a 10-year span, but really because they qualify for the first in incentive, we just need to keep that 20-year max open to be able to pay them back for that infrastructure, because it will be opening up all of North Shore. So that's what we're looking at in those terms. But of course, the value will have to accommodate all of that. And we run those numbers all the time. And Jean is always doing a great job with those different scenarios. So initially we talked about doing a 5-year 50% hotel motel tax rebate, but they said really we could just kind of push that one aside in lieu of just making sure they get their infrastructure costs back and maybe a little bit more cash at the time of C of O because of the cost of everything. So we'll maybe look at that down the road. But they will start as soon as the development agreement goes through. They would really like to get started, of course, like everybody, in the spring or summer. They do anticipate having it open by, I believe they said summer of 2024. So that's still the goal. They will give us an easement for the monument sign out there on 5 and 28, which would be great. So I think that's kind of the basics for that as of right now, and we'll continue to tweak that. But does anybody have any questions or major concerns on that one at this point, so that we can work on that as we move forward? No? Okay. So we'll move into the landowner's development agreement for Norwalk Central. And so this one's probably more familiar to everybody. We haven't changed a whole lot from the beginning of this one that we've been working on for the last year. So the developers are willing to put in the entire infrastructure network for all of Norwalk Central, which is about $9.5 million. We
are planning on doing an upfront grant of 1.5 million at time of the certified infrastructure being turned over to the city. But we already have $900,000 in place from an existing development agreement with them. So we would be doing an extra 600,000 for that upfront portion of it. And then the rest of the 8 million would be rebated over 20 years to them. Of course, based on the value that gets built out within Norwalk Central. And then since we have a development agreement in the works with a sports campus developer, they have a 10-year, we're proposing a 10-year partial rebate, 75% to them. Once their 10-year rebate is done, the remaining 10 years of that increment will then go back to the landowner getting paid back for the infrastructure. If it's not paid back to them already at that point, they'll just get them done a little bit quicker. The city, we're still proposing that the city purchase approximately 6 acres at $2.50 a square foot, fully graded. That would be for our city athletic facility and parking. It would also be that what we talked about with a sports campus developer, where we would deed back 2 acres to them for their portion of the building and our shared parking lot. The PUD will determine the amount of parkland and open space requirements, but that's almost complete. Luke Paris can give a little bit better update on that, but I know that they've been working pretty hard on that. And then we will have to come to an agreement on the regional detention land and the cost of that, but we're really close to that. We've been talking a lot about it and trying to get creative with things, and we're almost done with that piece that we can bring back to you. And then we will have a separate agreement down the road in a couple of years for the purchase of land for that future civic building, whether it's a library or whatever else it might be. That does not need to be included in this development agreement because we really don't know that's just too far out. And we don't even know exactly where that's going to go at this point. So that'll be a separate agreement. But looking at just full build out, when this whole area is fully built out, the investment, construction costs of everything were, in the $300 million range. So it's really, I believe they'll get their increment back pretty quickly. We're meeting with prospects all the time for large developments they're ready to put in there. So it's pretty exciting. It is a risk for them, of course, building this infrastructure up front. It's a risk for us as well, but it is a huge project that will turn out, I think, really, really amazing. And the last point that I would put on that is the sports campus developers with their partners, they would like to get the fields, the turf pods started in the spring if possible, because they really want to have some large tournaments by fall. So that's an aggressive timeline, but that's what we're working towards. And everybody, we had, I think, 20 engineers and designers and builders in the room for a meeting a few weeks ago, and they were all putting their brain power together to see how we could make this happen, at least for the field piece of this, knowing that the buildings will take a little bit longer to get built. So that's where we're at right now. I don't know if Luke Nelson or Paris or Jean, if you guys have any other points on those.
Just on the PUD, we had a good meeting with their group a couple weeks ago, and expecting a draft from them for us to review here shortly. And we'll turn that back around to them before October, so that hopefully we can have something before you all in the next couple of meetings.
Good.
Anything else, Holly?
Nope, I think that's it. I have the fastest heart rate right now. I'm just so excited. I can't even tell you.
She doesn't sound excited.
Have a glass of wine. Have a nice sleep.
Thank you.
Luke.
Just one item. Kaylin, our utility clerk, she ran some reports for July and August for irrigation rates and our seasonal rate that was implemented. And I can say mission accomplished for 2 reasons. One, we saw a reduction in consumption in both of those months compared to last year, both years being drought years. So they're similar, although we're doing some double checking on the amount of precipitation that we had. Number 2, 1 month we brought in an additional $37,000, considering the reduction in usage. And the other month, we brought in 29,000 additional dollars. Between those 2 months, that is roughly similar to the dollar figure. If you recall, it was around that $60,000 to $70,000 number that we were going to see as an impact because of our the
Peak factor.
peak factor, yes. That we were looking for about that 60 to 70,000. So that's great news. I'm going to put this in a little bit more formal format, but Kaylin just gave me that today, and I was just excited to be able to share that with everybody.
Yeah.
It's nice when things work out like you plan.
It is. You love it when a plan comes together. Brian, Stephanie, Lindsay.
Just one thing, I'll turn in the election papers tomorrow by noon, I promise. We have the 3 incumbents and 1 other for mayor, which is Dante Powell. That's it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Robin.
Well, thank you for your vote tonight. Very exciting time and a lot of work ahead, but we're super excited for the project and to get the final building up and going. Also wanted to let you know that we had our pre-construction meeting for phase 2 of the connection to the Great Western Trail. It has been brought to our attention that there are possible Indiana bats in the area, which are, those are on the federal, the federal endangered species list.
Like flying back.
That's, yeah.
Send them back to me.
Yeah. And so in October, they will go back to Indiana,
Yeah.
but we have to wait.
You have to wait to cut down the trees.
Yes. So we are looking at October 4th, but in reading a little bit more about it, I have some questions on that date. So I'm looking at more into it. I've contacted the DNR just so that we are not disturbing their homes, because they do come back in the summer to the same location. And we are, hopefully we don't have hickory trees in that area, but if we do, we're gonna need to think about what we're gonna do, so.
I thought we had something similar with Holland Park when we were doing when we were taking out trees in Holland Park, and they were allowed to cut them down after the bats left, and then bats have to find new homes.
Yeah. I know.
What do you-
So anyways, right now, October 4th is the estimated start date to start clearing the area. Mid-November is when we are scheduled to receive the bridge. And so hopefully, cross our fingers, things are done this year, but definitely spring of next year, early spring next year, that phase will be done.
Neat.
And hopefully by that time, we'll know, we'll have our final approval for DNR. That will hopefully go out to bid this winter. Those are all my hopes, but yeah, that's all I have.
So I have one question for you.
Yep.
Who poured the surface at Warrior Park? Do you remember?
Well, it was a subcontractor for Cunningham Recreation.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Robin, when I was last on the bike trail by the bridge, there was a relatively sizable rock lodged underneath that connection between the bridge and the concrete or whatever it is, which caused a pretty big raise. I don't know if somebody can go out there and look at it and see if I just am concerned that it's gonna build up and I don't know, eventually cause some kind of major issue.
Okay, yep, I can take a look at it.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
And since Jackie mentioned the trail, when do you think the stop signs on the trail at Beardsley will be put up?
I am working on those.
Okay.
So yes, I will mention something again about them. So
Thank you.
yes.
Anybody else have stuff? All right. Gene Strabel, I said Jean Bosch last week, so or last time, I apologize.
It's fine. No report. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Jean Fur, Kelly.
We're all tired. Just that there was some discussions in the legislature, federal level about advanced refundings may be coming back. That might be to our advantage. And also that they may consider increasing the bank qualification limit, which has been in place since 1986. It would be nice if we bought stuff at that price. So just a couple things to keep an eye on. Just to give you an idea, a 10-year loan with the amount we could save, at 10 million would be like possibly $250,000.
Wow.
So kind of nice.
All right, Chief Staples.
I'll pass. Thank you.
Captain Porter.
Our crews received an award from the North School Board on the 13th for their involvement of the save the 13-year-old girl going into cardiac arrest at the school on the 6th. Though that was extremely kind of them. Those life-saving efforts are really credited to the teachers that were there. But we have definitely taken that opportunity to support them and to bring awareness to CPR training, the use of AEDs and that sort of thing. So we're going to continue to provide them the support that they need in the days to come from that. Our new ambulance has got all of its equipment. It's in service. We're going to do an official blessing of the truck and place it in service on Saturday at the pancake breakfast. Reminder of that, Saturday pancake breakfast.
That everybody's
7 to 11.
invited to.
Everybody's invited, 7 to 11. Yep.
What time will
you
be
gonna be doing the truck?
10 o'clock. Yep, we'll do the blessing at 10. That's all.
Thank you. And we're going to try to bring the teachers in and recognize them in some way.
All right.
Probably at the next meeting.
Yeah.
October 7th, we'll do good. Wayne.
Nothing.
Luke.
Just real quick, permit numbers kind of started lagging a little bit in August. Not quite sure why, but so we're not on some crazy path for permits this year. So that's maybe good from a workload perspective. So get a moment to get our feet under ourselves. But we're sitting about 210 now. Last year we ended up with around 260, I believe. So we're probably on pace for the same as last year, which was a busy year for us as well. But earlier in the year, we're projecting around 350. So that seems like it's pulling itself back a little bit. Our permit software that you guys approved a year ago is all set up. We did training on it a few weeks ago and are in the process of now doing our transition over to it. So that's going to take a little while to do that. There's a public portal side of it that we're going to wait and roll out here probably after the first of the year, after we get a chance to work on the back side of it with the office stuff as well. That public portal will also involve a whole new nuisance complaint process that fits into the system. So there'll be a whole new portal for that where people can go make complaints and let us know about issues we gotta go look at. And then I'll give us some additional resources to provide you guys with some reporting on how all that works. It'll be real easy to pull out of the system if you want to know how many times we told somebody to mow their grass. So.
Thank you. Ed.
I think it's incredible that our permit numbers are staying pretty steady with the cost of building materials, some of the shortages that we've been experiencing in the construction world. I think it's great. Other than that, I have nothing there.
All right, Jackie.
No, nothing. Thank you.
Davis.
Well, I just had somebody that doesn't live in the city of Norwalk, but received the services of our ambulance crew. They're just south of town a little ways. And said, thank you. You guys were there quick and took care of things. So thank you.
That's where I'll pass that along.
But, that's all I have.
All right, Jen.
No, nothing.
Just a couple of quick things. Music Fest was very much a success. I think this is the first meeting we've had since Music Fest. It was a lot of fun. How many times did you get dunked?
Seems like
You
know, I really enjoyed that dunking booth.
Did you? Did you dunk
So-
him?
Ed enjoyed it so much, he told me next year he's going to volunteer to sit in it.
All right, good deal.
You know what? I've fattened that enough over the years. But I just enjoy throwing the ball.
All right. I mentioned that we're going to recognize the teachers. And just so you know, this morning I was voted on to the executive board of the Iowa Mayors Association. So
Yay.
I'm doing that. And that is all I have. So I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Cool, second by Reba. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. We're adjourned at 8:40 PM. Thank you.
Once we got through.
I think that's good.